Everybody, and welcome back. I note the presence of a quorum, and I'm going to call this business meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. For the information of the members of the committee, Ranking Member Whitehouse and I will deliver our opening statements, and once we have sufficient attendance, we will vote on the 10 GSA resolutions en bloc. And then following that vote, we will proceed to a vote on one pending nominee. After the roll call vote, members who wish to be recognized to speak on the nomination may do so. So now I'm going to give my opening statement to welcome and thank my colleagues for attending today, but also to vote on the nomination of Katherine Scarlett to be a member of the Council on Environmental Quality, or CEQ. Katherine is an excellent choice to lead CEQ. As CEQ's current Chief of Staff, she has worked with federal agencies to implement the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act and coordinate updates to agencies' individual NEPA procedures to reflect recent court decisions and executive policies. She's also led the effort in this administration to modernize the NEPA process through the use of technology. Prior to her current position, she worked here for me at the committee in EPW and served at both CEQ and the Federal Permitting Improvement Steering Council in the previous Trump administration, experiences that make her well qualified to lead the council. I urge my colleagues to support this nomination, and I look forward to her swift consideration on the floor. I also encourage my colleagues to support the 10 GSA resolutions that will authorize important repair and alteration projects across the country. With that, I'll turn to Ranking Member Whitehouse for his opening statement.
Thanks very much. I understand we'll take Jeffrey Hall up at some later opportunity, so I'll reserve comment on him other than to let the colleagues on my side know that I vociferously oppose his nomination to the Enforcement Office, whose policy nowadays seems to be non-enforcement. Basically, the polluter fox is in the hen house, and it's a sad state of affairs. As to Ms. Scarlett, I support the work that CEQ under her leadership is undertaking to implement NEPA updates to modernize federal permitting process. I will vote yes on her nomination. This work is long overdue. In November, a DC Circuit panel ruled, without actually any party raising the issue, that CEQ lacked the authority to issue NEPA regulations. That leaves our fractured agencies to develop each their own guidance, creating an inefficient patchwork of divergent rules and inconsistent applications of a law. This makes permitting reform an even greater priority, and I look forward to working with Ms. Scarlett to advance that ball. However, how can we do permitting reform in the face of an administration that seems lawlessly to disrespect the permitting and appropriations process? If we were to work out a deal, and I hope we will, what's the point if the president and his cronies can just simply ignore the law and do whatever it is that they wish based on special interest influence? That seems to be where we are right now. If they're not following well-established laws, why would we trust them to follow a new permitting reform law? So there's going to have to be some clarity about that as we move towards permitting reform. Two things happened in Rhode Island during the course of the break that I want to flag for my colleagues. One, a grant for the Port of Davisville was simply undone by the administration. It's hard to know exactly what was intended. As ranking member, I did not get the courtesy of an advance call saying that this was coming. It just blew up in the paper suddenly that all of these port dollars were gone. We have seen what I call the heresy hunt, where you have to go through applications and remove heretical language that the far right doesn't like equity or climate, that kind of stuff. If this is a heresy hunt, then we can keep going with the grant. If we can change the words so that people aren't triggered and offended by language in the original application, okay, that's one thing. We're trying to get an answer to that. If it's just blown up, that's another thing. If the goal here is to target offshore wind, which I think is an idiotic mistake, well, the Port of Davisville does a lot more than offshore wind. It's the largest car entrant in New England, in the Northeast. Huge business there. It's an old facility that needs piers rebuilt just because of age. It's right adjacent to where we build our submarines. And so we can find a lot of uses for that money if the problem is that it's got an offshore wind contingent to it, or we can find Rhode Island uses for that money. But I need to sort that out. I don't think it's sensible to go forward in a situation in which the administration is unilaterally yanking funding without notice to the ranking member on the committee, without a proper explanation or an understanding of how you repair that. The same thing happened with respect to Revolution Wind. Rhode Island takes some pride in having been the place where we figured out the siting for offshore wind. And an enormous industry emerged. About a little over a week ago, when 1,000 trades workers were putting their gear together to go out and do their well-paid work on this facility, which is already 80% complete, out of the clear blue sky, with no notice or warning, came a stop work order bringing the entire project to a halt. The vessels working on it came up into Narragansett Bay because they had no work to do out there. There's been no plausible explanation of why, other than the individual predilections of a president who doesn't like windmills. They said national security, but there's been no explanation of what national security issues there are, or why this region has a national security problem, but not the one off Virginia that's near the Norfolk Naval Station, and that is used far more for aviation and Navy operations than our area. So it makes no sense whatsoever. And in an environment where people are being hurt like that for what seem to be just oddball, unjustified reasons, again, you couldn't be making it harder to get permitting reform done, to get a big highway bill done, to get WRDA done. If the purpose, if this was a strategy to make Democrats aggravated so that they wouldn't do those bills, it would be hard for the administration to improve on what it's doing. To the chairman, I know you've worked together with me on a lot of things, and I appreciate your continued effort, and I hope that we can continue to work our way through these problems as we have others in the past. But these are real problems when stuff is just being unilaterally, spontaneously, out of no place, without warning or explanation, blown up in the face of literally 1,000 workers who were putting their gear together that week to go out to the job, and suddenly they're unemployed. That just isn't what I don't think workers expected if they voted for Trump, and it certainly is damaging and aggravating in Rhode Island. So I'll leave it at that, and thank you for your hearing me out.
All right, thank you. And at this time, I'm going to ask senators to hold their remarks until after the votes. So to begin, the ranking member and I have agreed to consider the committee resolutions before us en bloc by voice vote. I move to consider 10 committee resolutions to approve prospectuses from the General Services Administration. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Yes, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. With that, the resolution is approved. I will now call up Presidential Nomination 345-16, Katherine Scarlett of Ohio to be a member of the Council of Environmental Quality. I move to approve and report the nomination favorably. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. The clerk will call the roll.
Miss Alsobrooks. No. Miss Blunt Rochester. No. Mr. Bozeman. Aye. Mr. Kramer.
Aye.
Mr. Curtis. Aye. Mr. Graham.
Mr. Graham votes aye by proxy.
Mr. Houston. Aye. Mr. Kelly. Aye. Miss Lummis. Aye. Mr. Markey.
No by proxy.
Mr. Merkley.
No by proxy.
Mr. Padilla. No. Mr. Ricketts. Aye. Mr. Sanders,
No, by proxy.
Mr. Schiff, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Whitehouse,
Aye.
Mr. Wicker. Madam Chairman,
Aye. The clerk will report the yeas and nays.
Madam Chairman, the yeas are 12 and the nays are 7.
With that, the nominee is favorably reported, and I note the presence of a quorum. So I want to thank you again to all of our members for being here. We will be taking up the nomination of Jeffrey Hall at a later date. So did any member wish to speak on the nomination? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move to the business portion of our meeting, or the business portion has concluded. We'll have our testimony, so if you all would like to move to the dais.
Just to be clear, there
Yes.
will be an opportunity to speak on the Hall nomination when he's called up, correct?
Oh, yes.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, again, good morning. I've said good morning a lot. I'll say it one more time. Nothing wrong in saying good morning. That's right. Thank you all for being here. I hope everybody's rested and happy. And so we are really excited. Obviously, the ranking member is very happy. He's happy as can be. He just expressed that. We're all being honest with one another. That's what we're being, okay? Good. So anyway, this morning, we are going to hold our first oversight hearing on the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the first one we've had since March of 2023. Since our last oversight hearing, the outlook for the nuclear industry continues to rapidly evolve, and with that, the work and issues pending before the Commission have significantly changed. Today, we will discuss some of those changes, as well as ongoing policy, licensing, and management activities, and work to identify opportunities to meet this moment for nuclear energy. American homes and businesses need more affordable, reliable energy and need that power as soon as possible. As our nation's nuclear safety regulator, the NRC is central to determining the future of nuclear power in our energy system. For decades, the NRC took too long, cost too much, and did not have a predictable and efficient process to approve new licenses or modernize outdated regulations. That is why I worked with Ranking Member Whitehouse to get the ADVANCE Act signed into law last year. The ADVANCE Act was passed to spur the Commission, to give the Commission the tools, too, to take urgent, bold steps to set the agency on the right course for the next generation of nuclear energy. Since the bill was signed into law, the NRC staff and the Commission has been hard at work implementing the law. The Commission updated its mission statement for the first time in 35 years, since the NRC first articulated a mission in 1990. To accurately reflect the NRC's role today and to recognize that nuclear energy benefits the public. This mission statement must now guide both the staff and the Commission in their daily work. Ultimately, the NRC's success will be judged on what they do, not just on what they say. That means establishing clear and achievable safety regulations and approving licensing actions in an efficient, affordable, and timely manner. This is where President Trump's executive orders complement the ADVANCE Act. In May, President Trump issued Executive Order 14,300 to reform the NRC by establishing clear licensing deadlines, reconsidering how the agency is organized, and revising outdated regulations. I support President Trump's objective to enable the quick and safe deployment of nuclear power. The initial signs to improve licensing efficiencies are encouraging. In August, I visited Wyoming. First time I've ever been to Wyoming. It's a beautiful state. A lot of wide open spaces there in Wyoming.
Yeah, I was sorry I missed you that day. You were at the camera mine, weren't
We
you?
were.
Yeah.
We were.
The labor secretary came out, and I was with her in that same mine.
Yeah.
And we thank you so much for coming.
We learned a lot. It's the construction site of TerraPower, a leading innovative nuclear company. I heard how the NRC is revising its processes to help expedite the construction of advanced nuclear reactors. Since initially accepting the TerraPower's license application, the NRC has considerably shortened their review time to reflect an improved approval process. In a novel approach, the NRC approved TerraPower's request to separate nuclear and non-nuclear energy systems to allow the state of Wyoming to permit parts of the system while the NRC completes its safety review. To make these changes predictable and durable, the Commission must ensure that they can be repeated in future license applications, and the NRC staff must then execute these streamlined processes. Ultimately, it is the Commission's responsibility to set NRC policy, approve nuclear regulations, and adjudicate licensing disputes. The Commissioners must respond to congressional oversight, and we will continue to hold them accountable for their decisions as they are ongoing work of them and their staff. The staff has initiated a comprehensive review and revision of all the NRC regulations pursuant to President Trump's executive order. This is an enormous task and must be done deliberately. Creating rapid and major disruptions to the nuclear regulatory framework may unintentionally create instability and lead to uncertainty for financing for future projects. And through all the various initiatives, the NRC must not lose sight of the central role of ensuring nuclear safety. To be successful in this effort, the NRC must work with us, with Congress, the regulated community, and other stakeholders. That's why we're here this morning. So we can hear the Commission's plan to successfully implement the Advance Act and the executive orders, to get an understanding of how they are prioritizing their work, and to challenge the Commissioners to further improve. I'm optimistic the information that we gather today will be useful in our ongoing bipartisan efforts with Ranking Member Whitehouse to enable the use of nuclear energy. So with that, I will now recognize the Ranking Member for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome to the Commissioners and the Chair who are present. Nuclear energy is one of the most powerful tools in our energy arsenal to meet rising power demand and address the climate crisis. It is our largest source of zero-carbon electricity. Novel, advanced reactor technologies are uniquely equipped to produce high-temperature heat for industrial applications and can use spent fuel to mitigate our nuclear waste problem, TerraPower to wit. Dozens of new projects are being announced and moving forward. Through passage of our bipartisan Advance Act last year and prior bipartisan reforms, on which I was the lead Democrat, Congress equipped the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to usher in a nuclear revival. Unfortunately, the Trump administration is throwing unprecedented and dangerous obstacles into the nation's nuclear path, obstacles that threaten to derail our bipartisan progress, undermine the growing support for nuclear energy, and put the public at risk. Some in the administration want to turn the NRC into a, quote, rubber stamp, and have said so, using unaccountable and sometimes clueless doggy staffers to restructure the agency and upend its rules. Doggy staffers with no background in nuclear energy are ousting nuclear experts at all levels of the agency and replacing them with under or unqualified staff, adding uncertainty and delay in nuclear regulation, and rerouting supposedly independent commission decisions through political operatives at the White House. The industry stands or falls on the NRC's gold standard reputation for nuclear safety. It's now in jeopardy. Congress created the NRC with the primary goal to split the conflicting roles of the Atomic Energy Commission, whose encouragement of nuclear deployment came to overpower its safety mandate. As the Atomic Energy Commission's safety record lost the agency both public and industry confidence, Congress created the Nuclear Regulatory Commission as the safety regulator, leaving the Department of Energy as the industry promoter. This regulatory firewall rebuilt public trust and enabled the United States to safely develop and operate the world's largest and most effective nuclear fleet. The Department of Energy, like many bureaucracies, now seems to seek territorial expansion into the NRC, and Trump's doggy boys seek whatever, reviving past mistakes by eroding the NRC's independence and injecting political favoritism into its processes, or at least trying to. We see this interference in front of us today. 3 well-regarded commissioners sit here. There should be 2 more. Previous Chairman Chris Hansen was illegally fired by President Trump. Commissioner Annie Capito had had enough and left. We see this interference in NRC's senior leadership. In July, I showed this committee how the NRC had already lost 7 senior-level managers. Now, 4 others have departed or announced their departure, and more will follow. It's not just the senior ranks. NRC reports that 143 people departed between January and June, yet it hired only 1 person in the second quarter of the year because of the federal hiring freeze. More than 100 other staffers took the deferred resignation offer and will depart by the end of the year. It's a personnel bloodbath. An industry built on 80-year investments with a 0% acceptable failure rate cannot withstand the loss of regulatory certainty and public trust, particularly if it's damaged by doggy-boy neophytes out to move fast and break things. What they'll likely break will be this industry. An independent NRC with in-house technical expertise is the way to U.S. nuclear dominance. I think Chair Capito and I agree on this. And should the turmoil at the NRC subside, I look forward to working with her, members of this committee, and the commissioners, including newly reinstalled Chairman David Wright, to see the NRC keep delivering the full promise of nuclear energy that in the Senate, on a bipartisan basis, we have worked so hard to encourage. Thank you.
Thank you to the ranking member. So the way we have set this up, I think, is the way it's been set up in the past, but our first witness is the chairman of the NRC, David Wright. As we all know, Chairman Wright was confirmed in the Senate to his 3rd term on the commission in July, and President Trump has designated him to serve as the NRC chair. He will speak for 5 minutes, and then the subsequent commissioners have 3 minutes to give their opening statements. So welcome, Chairman Wright. It's nice to see you, and you're recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your opening statement.
Thank you so much. Okay. Chairman Capito, Ranking Member White House, and distinguished members of the committee, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. It's an honor to serve as chairman of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and I'm grateful for the trust placed in me to continue leading this exceptional agency. My colleagues and I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the NRC's licensing and oversight activities today. The NRC was established to regulate commercial nuclear power plants, research and test reactors, nuclear fuel cycle facilities, and radioactive materials used in medicine, academia, and industry. The agency also regulates the transportation, storage, and disposal of radioactive materials and waste, the export and import of radioactive materials, nuclear reactors and fuel cycle facilities, and the export of nuclear facility components. This year marks the NRC's 50th anniversary, a milestone that reflects 5 decades of unwavering commitment to public health and safety. Our success is rooted in the dedication and expertise of our workforce, whose efforts have made the NRC the global gold standard in nuclear regulation. I'm proud to lead this agency at this dynamic time. The signing of the Accelerating Deployment of Versatile Advanced Nuclear for Clean Energy Act 1 year ago has positioned the NRC to meet the nation's evolving energy and security needs. While reflecting on the past 50 years has value, our focus remains firmly on the future, and the ADVANCE Act has been instrumental in laying the groundwork for the next 50 years. The Act reinforces our mission focus and empowers us to prioritize safety, significant activities while embracing innovation. We are delivering on this mandate with urgency and purpose. The NRC is implementing Executive Order 14300, which calls for a modernized, more agile regulatory framework to support the safe and timely deployment of advanced nuclear technologies. This directive challenges us to think differently, act decisively, and collaborate effectively across government. While we work in partnership with agencies such as the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense, the NRC remains responsible for commercial civilian licensing and oversight. We are establishing expedited pathways for reviewing reactor designs that have been demonstrated safe performance in federal programs. Additionally, we're updating our processes to provide reviews that are commensurate with the associated level of risk. At the same time, we're reinforcing our commitment to transparency and accountability. This is not just regulatory reform, it is a cultural transformation that positions the NRC to be a forward-leaning, risk-informed regulator for the future. The NRC is actively reforming its internal culture to become a more efficient and modern agency while maintaining our focus on safety. Consistent with the agency's new mission statement, we issued a new procedure on interactions with industry to drive quicker regulatory decisions through more effective communications. It establishes clear expectations about how NRC staff should be proactive in clarifying gaps in regulatory requirements, offering insights into potential solutions, and being a helpful and responsive regulator. The NRC is also increasing accountability through a new project management initiative that ties metrics to individual performance. In May, we approved the NuScale US 460 standard design 2 months early, and we launched a risk-informed technology-inclusive microreactor licensing plan. 2 months later, we extended reactor design certification terms from 15 to 40 years, reducing regulatory burden while maintaining safety. We also reached a historic milestone by completing key licensing actions to facilitate the restart of the Palisades nuclear power plant, potentially the first permanently shut down reactor to resume operations. This sets a precedent for future restarts, including a reactor at the Crane Clean Energy Center and at Duane Arnold. Additionally, we completed the VC Summer subsequent license renewal both early and under budget, extending operations there through 2062. And we began an unprecedented 6-month review for DISA Technologies, multi-state radioactive materials license aimed at remediating up to 15,000 abandoned uranium mines, many on tribal lands. This represents a significant advancement for the NRC, made possible by the bipartisan support of Congress. The NRC is delivering results that matter, expedited reviews, streamlined regulations, and a rededicated focus on the safety mission. We are embracing innovation. Our work is not just about regulation, it's about enabling a safer, more secure energy future for all Americans. Thank you for your continued support of our mission, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next witness is certainly someone who is no stranger to the committee, is Commissioner Bradley Crowell. Commissioner Crowell was confirmed to serve as a member of the NRC in 2022 and has over 20 years of experience in energy and environmental policy, including having worked for our ranking member White House. So, Commissioner, welcome, and you're recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you. And good morning, Chairman Capito, Ranking Member White House, and members of the committee. The red button's on, but the green light's not going.
Just need to lean a little forward.
How about
Pull
now?
a little, yes, pull a little closer.
Good morning. Hello?
That's good.
There we go. Take two. Good morning, Chairman Capito, Ranking Member White House, and members of the committee. Thank you for holding this hearing at a critical time for the NRC and for the safe operation and deployment of nuclear energy technologies. Today, we find ourselves at a pivotal juncture that will determine the future of commercial nuclear power, not just in the United States, but around the world. When I began my tenure on the commission almost exactly 3 years ago today, I had growing confidence in our collective ability to position the U.S. as the world leader for deploying the next generation of nuclear technologies, and to do so while maintaining our hard-earned world-class reputation for nuclear safety. My confidence was buoyed by this committee's success in building and sustaining bipartisan support for both expanding the use of nuclear power and for needed NRC reform. Along with your colleagues in the House, this committee harnessed the bipartisan momentum to pass essential legislation, providing the NRC with both the policy direction needed and the tools necessary to efficiently oversee the safe design and operation of the next generation of commercial nuclear power. Key legislation, including 2019's Nuclear Energy Innovation and Modernization Act and the 2024 Advance Act, has accelerated our efforts, sharpening the NRC's focus and creating an overall platform for success. I appreciate Chairman Wright's testimony highlighting some of the NRC's accomplishments this year. I'll supplement it quickly with a few notable additions since I joined the commission in 2022. We've issued 5 licenses for new reactors, including the 2 new units at Plant Vogtle in Georgia. We've renewed the licenses for 6 reactor sites, for a total of 10 individual reactor units. These have been renewed for 20 years and represent 10 gigawatts of generating capacity that will stay on the grid. In response to unexpected industry demand, we've developed a viable regulatory pathway to restart recently shut down reactors. We've approved the use of new remediation technologies to accelerate cleanup of abandoned uranium mine waste across the West. And we've established a new regulatory structure to license emerging fusion energy technologies. The NRC staff is also currently engaged on over 30 advanced reactor projects, ranging from pre-application meetings to actively reviewing fully submitted applications. The NRC is continuing to get things done. We should not lose sight of this fact amidst the attention on reform. We can, and we are, making progress on all fronts. In May, the administration issued Executive Order 14300, ordering the reform of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The EO doubles down on the agency's current work and related reform efforts. In this regard, the EO is a welcome expression of support for the integral role of the NRC in catalyzing the safe deployment of new and advanced nuclear energy systems. However, I worry that select elements of this EO and other executive orders will be counterproductive to achieving the goals of EO 14300 itself. I take the opportunity today to point out these likely contradictions, not to sow confusion, but based on conversations I've had with members of this committee, other administration officials, and a wide range of stakeholders, I firmly believe that we all share the same goals. Thus, we need to work together to resolve any obvious hurdles that will undermine our collective efforts. My greatest concern is the current and future NRC workforce. The agency has been directed to do more with less despite growing workload and aggressive timeframes. This is an unsustainable dynamic. The ADVANCE Act provided tools to retain and grow our workforce, yet Executive Order 14300 calls for considering reductions in force. Such reductions would be on top of the historically high rate of attrition already happening this year in response to the deferred resignation program and other directives impacting federal employees. As you saw in the chart from Senator Winehouse, the NRC is not just losing technical experts, we have lost valuable senior executives. These workforce challenges are further compounded by the government-wide hiring freeze currently in place until mid-October, combined with potentially decreasing budgets. These conditions are not a recipe for success. I note the recent report from the administration's Energy Dominance Working Group that speaks clearly to the importance of adequately staffing agencies, including the NRC, to, quote, ensure that nuclear fuel and reactors can be developed, licensed, sited, funded, and exported, unquote. The working group's report raised another caution stating that, quote, procedural success will not be sufficient to secure nuclear energy dominance without investor, customer, and public confidence in projects, unquote. One path to jeopardizing public confidence is to decrease transparency. This is especially true for nuclear energy. A significant portion of the NRC's reforms will involve rulemakings. As we make progress modernizing the NRC, we must also retain some ability to engage proactively and transparently with the regulated community and with other stakeholders. Failure to do so risks undermining public trust and forfeiting the social license essential to a lasting nuclear renaissance. Working together, I'm confident we can find ways to conduct meaningful public engagement without compromising the efficiency we all desire. Finally, unnecessary disruption could counterbalance efficiencies gained and those still to be implemented. As one commenter aptly put it recently, quote, a regulatory whipsaw effect would strangle the nuclear renaissance, unquote. On this point, I again draw your attention to the administration's Energy Dominance Report. Quote, while creating the new licensing and permitting pathway is important, they must be compatible with existing processes to ensure that project developers have full access to markets and that existing licensing work is not disrupted. Making the staff's job more difficult and licensing less predictable is antithetical to staying focused, maximizing efficiency, making reasoned safety cases, retaining staff, and simply getting things done. Members of the committee, as of today, I have 665 days remaining in my current term. I want to report many more accomplishments to you during that time. While I have concerns, our shared goals across the government for a stable, safe, and prosperous energy future give me optimism and measured confidence that we can stay on the high end of this slippery slope and the right side of history. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Our final witness is Commissioner Matthew Marzano. Commissioner Marzano was confirmed by the Senate to be a member of the NRC in December of last year, previously having been detailed by the Idaho National Laboratory to support this committee for then Chairman Carper. Welcome back, Mr. Marzano, and you are recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Capito, Ranking Member Whitehouse, members of the Environment and Public Works Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. It feels a bit like a homecoming to return to this committee where I once had the privilege of serving on staff. And although my former boss may no longer be on the dais, I know that I'm not the only one who finds themselves repeating his trademark sayings, and I suspect that Chairman Capito might miss a few of them from time to time as well. In my 8 months of service as a commissioner, the importance of the NRC's mission to enable the safe use of nuclear technology has become even clearer to me. Our nation desperately needs clean, reliable, affordable energy to meet not only today's needs, but also the projected growth in electricity demand. This imperative has precipitated a cultural shift that has empowered every member of our staff to innovate the way that we conduct our business. Nuclear energy is undergoing a period of rapid evolution, and the NRC must evolve in parallel to meet this moment and the challenges of tomorrow. Speaking of change, from a personal standpoint, my wife and I recently welcomed the arrival of our second child just a few short weeks ago. That experience has only strengthened my sense of responsibility for the future we are building for the generations that will follow, and underscores the vital work of the NRC. While much has changed, my priorities as a commissioner that I presented to this committee remain as relevant today as they did a year ago. The path to achieving safe deployment of new nuclear power, both through innovations in the operating fleet and advanced reactor designs, requires a proactive approach that anticipates technical issues where possible, far ahead of the license review process. We as regulators must prepare with clear, efficient, and predictable licensing pathways that protect safety without unnecessary delay. The only way to accomplish all that is required of the NRC is through a strong, well-resourced workforce. The NRC staff has always demonstrated an exceptional level of expertise, and particularly in recent months, has shown an incredible resilience and ability to rise to the occasion. That said, we've seen many highly experienced employees leaving the agency for other jobs, particularly as the nuclear industry is ripe with opportunity. Cultivating the rich institutional talent within the agency is more important now than ever in order to effectively perform our mission, as well as train and prepare our staff and leaders for the next 50 years and beyond. Further, a central value of the NRC is and continues to be openness. The NRC's emphasis on transparency ensures that the agency devotes its full focus to assuring safety and security for the public. The NRC exercises deep expertise in public engagement, which supports the public's trust in a strong, reliable regulator and is critical to unlocking the benefits of nuclear technology. You have my commitment to uphold the core principles on which this agency was built as we continue to transform. I want to close by thanking my wife, Jennifer, for being so resilient and steadfast throughout these past few months. Jennifer, your unwavering support strengthens my resolve to serve the American people in this role with integrity and purpose. I thank the members of this committee for your support, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, and congratulations on the birth of your second child. That's an exciting time. One of the ones that Chairman Carper always said was bipartisan solutions are lasting solutions. So we'll just throw that one out there for both of us to hear, all of us to hear. Chairman Wright, thank you. I want to talk about the mission statement, making it actionable. We've all kind of alluded to the fact that the mission statement was realigned for the first time in many, many years. And to achieve its greatest impact, the commission has to, and with the staff, has to rewrite the guidance so that further actions can adhere to the vision that's outlined in that statement. The Advance Act required the commission to describe to Congress how it will update agency guidances to reflect the new mission statement. The report was due in July, but we have yet to receive that report. So what are your observations about how the agency has reflected the spirit of the revised mission statement in its activities to implement the Advance Act, and where do you see us going from here?
Thank you for the question. So the mission statement is something that we work very hard on, especially my colleague here to my left. We worked very hard on that over the holidays last year. And finally, the whole commission, as you know, adopted it in January. The mission statement outlines exactly what we do as an agency every day. It hits every factor, and even with the executive orders that are out there, as I see it right now, it supports the executive orders as well. I do know that the mission statement was, the guidance was paused during, while I was gone off the commission. I don't know the whole details behind it, but
Have you restarted that?
so when it was paused, I believe Commissioner Caputo was the one who was notified by staff that they wanted to revisit and take a look at it in light of 14,300 and some of the things that were going on. I have not talked to the staff yet. I just learned about this last week, and so I will be following up, yes. And
Yes.
I'd like to get that guidance
Okay.
moving forward.
All right, Commissioner Crowell, I know, and Commissioner Chairman Wright alluded to the fact that you all worked hard together on this. Do you have anything you'd like to update? Or, any additional comments you'd like to make regarding that?
I'd just say that I think the mission statement we worked out on a bipartisan basis was well-received by this committee. I think it reflects the current goals and mission of the agency. Candidly, I'm not sure it makes sense to redo it at this point as directed by EO 14300. But if that's what the administration desires, we will endeavor to do that. But I do think our current mission statement is the right one for the time, for this time in the commission's history.
Thank you. I think it's core to the mission. And, we'd like to see, of course, the guidance follow that so that we can have actionable follow-up. Congress passed the ADVANCE Act to direct the NRC to be more efficient in its regulation. We've all talked about it, to focus on issues that are most important to safety. Prime example of unnecessary regulations is what is known as non-emergency event reporting, which is some 300 issues that require licensees to notify the NRC. There are issues that are these are issues that are captured either in oversight activities or reports. So after more than 8 years of work last summer, the career NRC staff submitted a proposed rule to the Commission to eliminate a small subset of those issues. So I'd like to ask each of you briefly, do you support this straightforward, simple proposal that career NRC inspectors and staff endorsed? And if so, while the rulemaking proceeds, would you support providing a temporary compliance relief for licensees? So we'll start with you, Chairman Wright.
Thank you. My position for a long time has been that effort to eliminate these requirements is a good example of risk informing our regulations and improving. And so, yes, I would support.
Commissioner Crowell?
Yes, I think what we can do to reduce the burden on our inspectors for doing, potentially needless paperwork exercises is a valuable part of our efficiency goals.
Commissioner
Yes,
Marzano?
so from my experience working in the industry as a senior reactor operator, I've encountered this reporting requirement several times. There's definitely room for improvement. I support the staff's work here and any ways that we can ensure that the NRC remains situationally aware of what's going on in the fleet at any given time. That is a valuable aspect of this type of reporting. But I do support streamlining, making that process more
Great.
efficient.
Good, thank you. I have well, you know what, I'm going to go to my ranking member here, Senator Whitehouse, so I don't take too much time.
First of all, thank you all for being here. I customarily offer encouragement to have the regulatory process support the effort to find locations where they're boiling water to make electrons and swap in nuclear if the boiling water is being done by a decommissioned or obsolete plant, and also to lean in where the process allows for the reuse of spent fuel. That may not be reflected in the economic imperatives to the individual companies, but I think there's a huge public value to finding a way to make sure that spent fuel can be productively and safely reused, and I urge you to lean in on that. I say those things all the time, and I'm saying them again here. Given all of the intrusions from, in my view, the Department of Energy and from this doggy operation and potentially from the White House into what is supposed to be an independent process, I'm worried about the transparency issue, which I've seen, I think everybody on the panel mentioned the importance of transparency. Here's my concern. As you all are developing a regulation, it seems to me that, if I understand the process correctly, when all your work is done and your work is sent to OIRA, the office at OMB that supervises from the White House's perspective the development of regulations, no step in that process before it gets to OIRA is public. So if you had a situation in which an industry influence had a heavy hand over at OMB, or had a policy directive that was very different from the safety imperative that you are supposed to implement, you could have a situation which basically they just drop in the reg that they want at OIRA through the White House. All your work gets dismissed, and it now comes back to you with a very strong headwind from the White House saying, do this or you're out of luck. And it seems to me that transparency along the way, so that people can see what went into OIRA and compare it to what came out of OIRA, would be useful. Chairman Wright, do you agree with that?
So transparency and openness are big, and, public, keeping the public informed, keeping our stakeholders, hearing from them, learning from them being a part of the process that's been key to what we've done historically. It's very important. I know that we're working very closely with OIRA to understand the process. So far, they've worked pretty seamlessly with us. We've not seen any of the things that you have alluded to, although we're aware, and if there is an issue, we know that we feel confident that we can have a serious discussion with them.
Well, I think if something like that should happen, I would ask that somebody notify this committee that that has happened, even if it's not a public matter, so we can inquire. Because if OIRA becomes the drop box for special interest influence, and all of your work as an independent commission basically gets blown out of the water by OIRA, and it's all done secretly because none of your preparatory work is public, and what OIRA does is secret, then behind that veil of secrecy, a lot of mischief can happen. So I'd ask you to make sure that we know about that.
Yes, sir.
Last, I call them doggy, call them Doge if you like, whatever you
Well,
want.
you need to clarify that, because some folks on our side of are
Doggy.
really confused when you
Doggy
keep saying
boys.
doggy.
The doggy boys.
And I'm looking at them saying, it's Doge, it's Doge.
So as of today, it seems there are 7 doggy staff at NRC. Is that true? Do I have the number right? Yes. And had any of them worked on nuclear energy prior to inboarding at NRC?
I
your
know
knowledge.
I know of one who has worked at a plant and has also worked on the coal side as well. That one I know for sure.
Yeah.
There may be
On the coal side of nuclear energy.
Well, no. He worked at a nuclear plant, but
Yeah.
then he also
And then he worked on
at
a coal plant.
as well.
Got it. In your QFR responses, you said that the lead staffer from Doggy did not have an NRC supervisor. As of today, which of the staffers have an NRC supervisor? All 7, some of 7, none of 7?
So you're talking about, the one you're talking about was the first one there, Mr. Blake. He is a senior advisor and a consultant to the NRC, but he also does consulting work at, my understanding is at DOE and also at EPA. He works in coordination with our EDO, Mike King, at the NRC. All the other members, the other 6, do report to an NRC.
An NRC person?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my time's up. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and once again, thank you for coming to Wyoming. You're invited back often, and we're delighted that you had a chance to see what we're doing there. I want to thank the commissioners for being here today. One of you in your testimony mentioned what I think is the crux of the matter for the commission, and that is just two words: safe use. And I think some of us on this committee get the impression that when one party is control, it's all about non-use. And when another party's in control, it's all about unsafe use. And I want to just reaffirm for you, it's both. It's both for all of us. We know that we need incredible amounts of energy in order to win the artificial intelligence race. And it's absolutely critical that the United States be the leader in AI. But to do that, we need all sources of energy, and nuclear is included. The frustration that I experienced during the last 4 years is very similar in terms of the frustration level that the ranking member just expressed. But it was from the opposite point of view. I had worked for 4 years with Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona to help the Navajo Nation clean up their many sites that are contaminated. And with the DISA technology that is basically what I call a car wash for rocks, they're able to clean up tailings and old nuclear sites to a level that exceeds 90%. But for some reason, somebody at the NRC's lower level staff decided that that wasn't good enough and used their bureaucratic position to thwart that cleanup. And to me, that was just nonsensical. And the Navajo Nation didn't get it. I don't get it. And so we experienced the frustration of not being able to identify a faceless bureaucrat that was stopping the cleanup of these sites on the Navajo Nation and could do it for other sites that are on federal land and private land as well. So I share I share that kind of frustration. Senator Whitehouse, we felt exactly the same way when the Keystone XL pipeline was shut down. No notice to anybody. All those jobs lost in 24 hours, boom. So I get it. When you're not in control, there's a certain amount of frustration that goes with the change of administration. But there's something that's always going to be true with this group, with this commission, and it gets down to the issue of safe use. And we're seeing new technologies in nuclear that are being developed and advanced that we need. And we want it expedited, but we don't want it expedited by sacrificing safety. So if I could just say to all three of you, Godspeed, move forward, get nuclear back in a position where it's a big component of the American energy mix, but never do it by sacrificing safety. So those are my soapbox remarks. Now I'm going to ask a question about what the western states are doing. So Wyoming, Idaho, and Utah have recently entered into an agreement to jointly pursue nuclear industry growth in the region. So, and I'll ask this of the chairman, so how are you working with state-level energy officials to support nuclear development and doing it in a safe manner?
Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate your comments too earlier. So we work with any stakeholder out there. We work with the states, whether it be the Agreement State Program or if it's companies that want to have a conversation with us about what they're trying to accomplish. We'll early engage with them. That's just a good thing to do. It's just a good business practice. But whatever the business is going to do, they're going to decide in their boardroom. Right? If it's a technology that they're going to pick, that's a decision they make. We don't pick that for them. But we will work and we'll collaborate with which we already do when we travel. We collaborate with the local state officials to get the answers that they need and to provide service if we need to.
My time's up because I was on my soapbox too long, but maybe if there's a second round, I can actually get to my questions. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I can jump on Senator Lummis's soapbox for a minute as well. No, look, I actually agree with a lot of what you said, starting with the need for the United States to maintain its leadership in AI, and to do so, we need the accompanying energy supply to continue to drive it. I've heard a lot from this administration and from a lot of people here in the Senate about all the above, all the above, all the above. And if that's the case, you're making the pitch for why nuclear has to be part of the mix. I'd also suggest that hydrogen, that not just wind in inland states like Wyoming and coastal states like California, but the added opportunities of coastal states for offshore wind ought to be supported and further invested in, not funds withdrawn as we're seeing by this administration. So if we're in agreement on that, let's continue to work together to make those appeals for continuing the smart investments that we've had. Now, to the subject at hand today, thank you to all the witnesses who are here. A little bit of a reminder for members of the committee and a benefit for those watching at home. The year was 1974 when Congress acted to dissolve the Atomic Energy Commission as it existed and separated its responsibilities between two bodies, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and what is now the Department of Energy, recognizing that one entity cannot and should not be charged with both the nuclear safety regulation of policymaking and decision-making, as well as promoting nuclear, because it creates a real, or at minimum, perceived conflict of interest, and it's important to maintain the public trust in these endeavors. But today we see DOJ staffers detailed to the NRC, but referring to themselves as DOE representatives, injecting themselves in the regulatory review, the NRC reorganization, and stating their intention for NRC to be a rubber stamp for DOE approvals. We also see the NRC being directed to create expedited pathways to approve DOE-tested reactor designs without revisiting DOE's analysis. This is a dangerous trend that I fear could have significant implications for the safety, back to your safe use, Senator Lummis, to the safety of our nuclear power industry, and more importantly, that the trust of the American people deserve to have in nuclear energy. As we all know, when it comes to anything related to nuclear and the public trust, once you break that trust, it is really, really hard to regain it. So my first question is for Chair Wright. How is this not a return to the once upon a time Atomic Energy Commission approach that combined both the regulation and promotion of nuclear?
So thank you, Senator. And I'm going to, while I'm answering your question, I'm going to correct something as well.
Please do.
Working with DOE and working with DOD or any other agency is nothing new to the NRC. We've done this historically. Yes, we are the safety regulator. We have to be ready to review and license all comers. DOE, on the other hand, they can pick winners and losers. They are the promoter of all things energy. There's nothing that's really different now. Yes, they're over there helping implement 14300, but they're not directing that. We're working collaboratively with DOE on this, and in fact, on the microreactor program that they're pushing now, we are actually going to be putting people at DOE to help do the reviews because they need our help.
So just building on that for a second, because you're right, there's been that collaboration and partnership before.
Right.
But from where we are now and going forward, would it be beneficial to have a formal MOU in place to clearly define the roles and responsibilities of each party?
We have an MOU with DOE. We've had it for years. And we're also looking at implementing an MOU with DOD.
Well, that's what I'm referring to.
As
There's
well.
not one with DOD.
Yeah,
Would it be beneficial to have one?
We're working on that now.
What's a timetable that we can expect one, or at least a preliminary?
I'm going to have to get back to you about that. Our EDO's back here. I could probably find that out right after the hearing for you. But it's soon. They're talking about it now.
Okay, that'd be helpful to have. I know my time is running out. It does go by quickly, so I'll follow up with questions on other topics, including but not limited to seismic safety.
Yes, sir. And I just wanted to, for the record, let you know that rubber stamp comment that made the papers or whatever while I was out, I was in that meeting. What wasn't reported is how we pushed back and said we don't rubber stamp anything at the NRC. We're not going to put our name on anything we haven't reviewed and accepted and proven to be safe. And DOE, their two gentlemen who were there, agreed wholeheartedly with that. So the pushback was made.
Okay, well, appreciate the pushback. Would love to get it documented and especially see the administration's respect for that check and balance. Thank you.
Senator Curtis.
Thank you, Chair. Before I begin, Commissioner Marzano, congratulations on that second. As a father of 6, I would simply say, 2's a good start.
And I would say thank you for recognizing your wife.
Yeah, good. Mayor Wright, we've established in this meeting precedents, and you're a mayor and always will be in my mind. Thank you for your service there and here, and commissioners, thanks for being here. My colleague to the left from Wyoming has talked about the agreement with Utah, and I think Utah is clear that they want to be an innovator, they want to be a leader on this. Our state legislature stands ready to jump through hurdles. We have sites that have been working on preparation for years. And I want to kind of dovetail on her question of working with state governments, and have we really explored to our fullest extent what we can do working with our state governments to help expedite the process? What can they become partners with us on? And how can we use our state governments for states like Wyoming and Utah and the others who are ready to roll? Mayor.
Right, so thank you for that. Again, we're a safety regulator. That's what our job is. We do review and license. We don't promote a particular technology. Again, if a state is looking at, or utilities are looking at a particular technology to build, or if they need information, we've got the information on our website. We've got dashboards that are up there where anyone who is looking to find out how to get something done, it's there on the NRC website, or they can call us directly. We go
I know my
visit.
legislature's actually been up to visit you.
I've been to your state. I've been to Wyoming as well, and talked with their government officials. And you've also got trade organizations too that they can lean on, like NEI or people like that, and the National Conference of State Legislatures and as well.
We don't have time to fully explore this, but I think it's clear from the comments up here, we would love to keep massaging this and figuring out what we can do with our states to be as ready as we can. The second thing, obviously, the Advanced Act's been talked about a lot today, and inside that I had a bill, the Advanced Nuclear Reactor Prize Act, and I would say one of the motivating factors for including that was to bring certainty and clarity into this. Those of you that have been around long know about UAMPS and their attempt to get a small nuclear reactor and the difficulty with that. So I would ask Mr. Wright, what are you doing as an organization to provide this certainty that these organizations need? How can we better clarify exactly how to do this?
Well, if you're talking about the Prize Act, is that?
I'm talking about overall certainty for those who are wanting to go through this process that can last, many years.
Oh, yeah.
My observation is if you're fortunate enough to be Terra Power and have vast resources to move through this. You can move quicker, still not real fast. If you're UAMPS, in their case, took them about 10 years to move about halfway through the process.
Well, so we've learned as we've gone along, especially since the new scale thing first started. We've instituted Tiger teams and things like that as well to review, to try to keep things on track and in focus. Having said that, early engagement from anybody is going to be helpful, because the whole goal is to build as robust a package as you can, so that you can get it through as quickly as possible. We're committed to the 18 months and for a construction review, and then do the safety review as well for the nuclear side. We're not going to be the problem here. If there's a problem, it's going to be fuel, it's going to be money, it's going to be workforce, it's going to be supply chain. It's not going to be the NRC.
It might be worth a whole separate hearing on fuel, but we'll save that for another day. Clearly, your comments indicate that you're hoping to lead this organization through a transition of change and clarity. Can you just give us a top line of what we can expect and how you are doing that?
Yes, sir. That is a loaded question. I could talk an hour about it, but I will tell you, we're not through yet going through what we have to. I'll relate it to, I'm a colon cancer survivor. I knew when I was told I had cancer that I had to do stuff fast. I had to make decisions quickly so I could get through the process and out on the other side. We are going through that process right now of, we're losing people and we're going to lose more. I mean, it's a perfect storm for us. People are retirement age. It's a great opportunity. They're being recruited by other companies right here in D.C., Maryland, Virginia. So we've got to, and we're doing our reorg now. So once we get the reorg plan done, we're going to then be able to see, because that's focused on workload, right, and where the work's going to be. Then we're going to be able to put people into those spots and see, do we have gaps? Right now, we can get things done. We can do the licensings, we can do the reviews, we can even license a reprocessing facility under our regs right now. So we've got to get through that reorg part before we can get to what you really are looking at is, do we need more people? But you've given us the tools to fill those holes through the Advance Act. We can direct hire.
I'm out of time. Thanks, Commissioners. I yield back my time.
Thank you. Senator Kelly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First question, actually, both of them, I'm going to try to get through quickly because I think they're both equally important. And I'm going to ask each of you to provide an answer. So the administration has set ambitious goals for nuclear energy, 10 new reactors under construction by 2030. You guys know this. Quadruple the generation capacity by 2015, which is roughly 300 new utility scale reactors over the next 25 years. And there's bipartisan agreement. These are the kind of goals we need to meet our nation's energy demands reliably while reducing emissions. But if passes prologue here, the country's not on track to meet these goals. Today, only 6 reactor designs are certified, only one of which has ever been built. Over the past 25 years, the NRC has only issued 14 operating licenses, resulting in just 2 new reactors. As energy demand has skyrocketed, so has the demand for more nuclear power plants. But at the same time, the industry is aggressively pursuing advanced reactor designs that have never been deployed. And these designs, they do promise to be safer, more flexible, and easier to deploy, but they will take precious NRC time and resources to certify and license. So my question is, where should the NRC focus its attention to get more nuclear on the grid at scale in the time to meet our energy needs? And I see 2 options here. The NRC can fast-track proven utility-scale designs to get shovels in the ground now, or the other option, the NRC can certify tomorrow's advanced modular reactors. So commissioners, would you agree that the NRC could move faster and bring more nuclear energy to the grid if the commission could prioritize one of these pathways as opposed to trying to do both at the same time? And if so, which path do you think the NRC should follow to make this happen? So either fast-track proven utility scale designs to get shovels in the ground now, or certifying the new advanced modular reactors. I'm going to start with Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Senator. Quite honestly, you need both. You really do. But if you're going to hit 400 gigawatts, you're going to have to build big plants. You're going to have to build a lot of them. You're not going to be able to hit everything that you need with advanced reactors or microreactors, although they're used for specific, different purposes, chemical plants, things like that. That's for sure. But for grid scale stuff, I mean, we're going to have big plants, no question.
So that would clearly be the first option here, is to try to get the utility scale, the existing designs,
So there's
shovels in the ground.
So, there's some low-hanging fruit that's out there. Power up rates, number one, that's the lowest hanging fruit that's out there. Then you've got, license renewals and subsequent license renewals, so the plants that are aging out can get licensed for another, 20 years or more. Then you've got the opportunity to bring, as we're doing with Palisades, bring decommissioned plants back online. That's cheaper than building a new plant. And then you're looking at the possibility to build big plants again, because the AP 1000, we've got the design certification 40 years, and there's been announcements that are looking to build in maybe 10 in the U.S. And then finally is the micros and the SMRs and advanced reactors. So those are the 5 things that are out there.
Mr. Crowell and Marzano, do you agree with that?
Yes, and I'll be very quick here. I mean, we have to do both. I don't think we have a choice. On the new application advanced reactor side, it's all going to depend on the quality of the application that comes in, whether we can do that quickly and efficiently. But in the near term, we can make significant progress with keeping and putting more power on the grid from nuclear in 3 ways. Completing these efforts to restart recently shut down reactors, approving power up rates so existing reactors could produce more power, and also making progress on advanced fuels, higher burnout fuels that will allow more power, longer run times, and less downtime.
I've got 30 seconds. Mr. Marzano, I'm going to ask you this next question. So it's about abandoned uranium mines. As I've discussed with all of you before, we've got 500 of them on the Navajo Nation. We've been working for decades to clean these things up. There's been challenges. One of these challenges has to do with how we deploy new emerging technologies. And as I believe all of you know, the EPA and the Navajo Nation have piloted a technology that could reduce the amount of hazardous waste at an abandoned mine site by as much as 85%. But this technology hasn't been able to be used more widely because it's still going through a licensing process at the NRC. And I know you've made some progress on this in recent years to alternative licensing pathways, but do you agree that a site-specific licensing process for remediation of abandoned uranium mines will unnecessarily delay the deployment of innovative technologies across the western United States?
Yes, for the number of features that are out there that are causing these public health concerns, in order to address this problem, we need to move quickly. And each site has its unique features, but ultimately the technology is what it is, and it's repeatable at these different sites.
So can I get just each of you, because I'm out of time and I'm over, just to commit to me to prioritizing the review of any licensing applications pending before the commission so we can start cleaning up more of these abandoned mines?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Husted.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Appreciate you, Commissioners and Chairman, for being here today. The question of safety and speed is at the center of much of the conversation today. I come at this from someone who represents a manufacturing state, Ohio. If you look at our energy demands as we, as a nation, look to do more made in America, more manufacturing, we're going to require more electricity. You have more battery demand, electricity through cars, and certainly with AI. We're the 5th largest AI state in the country, and we're continuing to see demand grow for electricity. And we're not a state where solar or wind can even come close to meeting that increased demand, particularly with the reliability issues of needing power 24/7, 365 to run these facilities. And nuclear is the only zero carbon solution that's out there, which I think is a uniting element of a lot of the conversation. So there were questions raised earlier today about safety, that there perhaps are an inadequate number of professionals at the commission to meet current safety demands. And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to give you an opportunity to clear that up, that, are things, do we have the adequate professional staff necessary to provide for the safety of the nuclear industry in this country?
Oh my gosh, yes. Safety's not an issue. Safety's our North Star. It's our strike zone over home plate. We're not taking our eyes off of that. Our staff, that's what they focus on. We're not going to approve anything that is not safe, regardless of speed. That's why early engagement is so critical, so that we can understand if it's a new and novel technology, what are the gaps that we have, and where does that information going to be filled from. But we have the expertise on our staff now to do what needs to be done, and safety is not going to be compromised in any way, I can assure you that.
And it is, as you look to the future, I know you're going to continue to try to modernize, that you have issues with people retiring, people in demand from the private sector, all of the things which we've discussed, and you're gonna modernize and improve. But I'll ask this question. How much nuclear energy do we expect to come online in the next 10 years?
Well, I don't know the actual answer to that.
Okay.
All I know is that whatever's going to be coming to us to be reviewed and licensed is going to be done in an efficient manner. And we're going to get that process done so they can get to market.
Okay, and from start to finish, how long does that typically take? How long should it take, and how long does it take for, to follow up on Senator Kelly's question, to go from it appears on your desk to approval to construction and then electrons going out the door?
Right, so, we're looking at new and novel ways to do things, to expedite things like we did in Wyoming with TerraPower. We've got, it's going to be kind of up to the applicant and working with us to build a robust application. We're committed to try to do it in 18 months for the construction side, and again, in that 18-month time frame to try to get the whole nuclear side of it done as well. So, and they can be done in tandem. They can be done at the same time. We don't have, we're committed to making things more efficient. It used to be the safety side was further to the left and got done quicker than the environmental side. That's changing. That's going to be that's a game changer for the NRC and actually for the industry as well. It's going to help us get things done quicker. But we only have, as you know, you've got, we have the design cert that we just did for the AP1000, and then you've had NuScale, that's the only advanced reactor that has been approved. You've got 5 others, Kairos and others who have applications before us, but you've got another 25 or 30 who haven't come to us with any license, any application. But we know they're probably coming. We just don't know when, but we'll be ready. That's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I would just add that I think it's pretty widely known when you look at the math that the demand for electricity through AI alone is increasing at a far faster rate than we're bringing energy online to meet that demand. And we all say we care about inflation and lowering costs for consumers. And if we don't get this right, it is going to come with great consequences to us economically and for the people who pay those electric bills.
This is one of the things that's important about a whole-of-government approach to this issue, because it is a national energy emergency. And that's what we're trying to do, working with DOE and DOD at Idaho with the microreactor program. And we would, if it's needed in other areas, then, if the Congress pushes it and DOE wants to do it, we're going to be a partner and get that done as well.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Blunt Rochester.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you to our ranking member. As a person who sits in the seat for Chairman Tom Carper and a former staffer. I will congratulate you, Commissioner Marzano, on the birth of your child. And it's good to see you again, Mayor, as well. I will say that to me, this panel is so important. And the 5-member panel that governs the Nuclear Regulatory Commission ensures independence, reliability, and continuity in the incredibly important corner of the energy sector, being nuclear. And the bipartisan nature of the panel also protects the NRC's stability from changes in administration so that it doesn't change with the winds. Starting with you, Chair Wright, can you talk about why this 5-member structure is so critical for nuclear safety and regulatory certainty?
Thank you for the question, and so I do agree, we work best when we have a full complement of 5 members. We do. We all bring different backgrounds. We have diverse thoughts. We have different life experiences that actually work to help us educate each other and help us come to a better solution, right? So 5 is, but I've worked on commissions with 4 and with 3, and we found a way to make it work. Yeah.
Commissioner Kroll?
I do believe that 5 as intended is the ideal number, but it's all about relationships between the commissioners, no matter how many they are, and we intend to make the most of it, even if there's just 3 of us.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Senator. Ultimately, this structure leads to more reasoned, balanced, and robust decisions, decisions that stand the test of time. And I'll echo the sentiments of my colleagues here that we all benefit from this deliberative process and decision-making. And Congress intentionally set up not just the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, but the Atomic Energy Commission way back when. As highly valuable for that type of, given the complexity of the nuclear industry, nuclear technology, et cetera.
And I think that's the whole point, is not necessarily, I'm referring to the structure and those different perspectives that are brought to bear, and also taking the politics out and focusing on the expertise and what is necessary. And I express this because I am concerned about the administration's recent track record with interfering with independent federal agencies like the Federal Reserve even. The ranking member's comments and even your testimony about recent retirements, the firing of a commissioner, and a number of vacancies, we're seeing that even the NRC isn't immune. And again, this is really about our health and our safety of this, and as well as our competitiveness. I will follow up with you later, Chair Wright, because I can't imagine that the loss of technical expertise that was shown on that board does not have some impact, whether it is in the timeliness or that has to have an impact. And so I think we need to make sure that you have the resources you need, because nuclear energy is not the place that we want to play around. So I'll follow up with you on those needs. Nuclear energy continues to be a big part of the conversation about the future of energy in this country, and we need this option on the table. But not only at the expense, we don't want it to be at the expense of safety of our communities. That being said, there's been a clear delay in nuclear licensing that has been discussed, and enhancing the efficiency of NRC reviews while ensuring safety is critical to NRC licensing. Chair Wright, where are you seeing bottlenecks in the licensing process?
Thank you for the question, and I look forward to following up with you as well. So again, it's that early engagement is so critical, right? Not all these technologies are the same, and we have to be prepared for whoever comes into us, right? We don't pick winners and losers like DOE can do. So we have to be ready. We want to try to help them on the front end as they are constructing their license program, right, for an application. We want it to be as strong and as robust as possible and answer as many questions as we can early so that we can get through the process quicker. So again, it's going to be up, a lot of this is up to the applicant as well.
Got it. So that pre-application engagement is key, is
Oh, it's
what
critical.
you're saying?
Yes.
And with respect to Executive Order 14300 and the directive to undertake a review and wholesale revision of its regulations and guidance documents, will NRC hold public meetings and solicit public comment before these revisions are finalized? And that's just yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Again, ultimately, this is about safety. This is about our health. It's also about the competitiveness of us as a nation. And so our focus on clean, reliable energy is important, and I look forward to following up with you as well, Chairman, Commissioner. And I yield back.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Senator Ricketts.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the commissioners for coming here today for this oversight hearing. I really appreciate it. Nebraska is very proud of our nuclear power. It's clean, safe, and reliable. Our Cooper Nuclear Station is an 835 megawatt facility that can generate power for about 385,000 residences, even in the hottest part of summer. Nebraska is working to expand its nuclear energy capabilities through several different avenues. As the industry continues to grow throughout Nebraska and the country, clarity in rulemaking is vital to success. In situ recovery, uranium mining is critical to the U.S. bolstering our domestic supply of uranium. One of the challenges to incentivizing more ISR mining in the U.S. is the lack of clarity with respect to the NRC groundwater restoration standards. President Trump recently issued an executive order directing reform at the NRC. Chairman Wright, how will the NRC work to address the lack of clarity regarding groundwater standards as part of its new reforms?
Thank you, Senator. And I love your state, by the way. I love
Thank you,
Nebraska.
so do I.
So the NRC is working right now on ISR standards as part of this whole comprehensive rulemaking on 14300 right now. So that's it's gonna happen, the review.
So do you have a timeline for when we might be able to expect to see some of these first new rules?
Well, I think that we're trying to get, I think right now, we're looking to maybe get something up on 14300 in October, and I think February is when we're supposed to be looking at something final.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Subject to check.
Yeah, I understand. I've been around here long enough to understand that these are ballpark numbers usually.
Right.
Great. So the Nebraska Public Power District is currently in phase 2 of a feasibility study for building a new small modular reactor. Looking toward the future and licensing process for this state-of-the-art technology, I would like to learn more about how the NRC is implementing the ADVANCE Act to improve efficiencies in the licensing process. On August 18th, the acting executive director for operations issued a memo in accordance with Section 505 of the ADVANCE Act. The memo identifies a series of actions the agency has taken to accelerate the efficiency, predictability, and timeliness of licensing reviews. Which of those actions do you think is the most promising to improve the NRC's licensing efficiency, especially for new and developing technologies? And what are some of the next actions that the staff and commission are considering to continue its implementation of Section 505 in the ADVANCE Act?
Well, I don't think there's any one that is better than the other. I think the whole of these actions taken together is what it's going to take and it's going to make the biggest impact. And again, this, as the report stated, the NRC staff we anticipate that the agency will realize the further efficiencies when the rulemaking efforts for EO 14300 are completed. So that's part of that whole process.
Yeah. And just on an operational side, one of the things when I was governor I implemented at the state of Nebraska was Lean Six Sigma, process improvement methodology. And we were able to save literally hundreds of thousands of hours of our teammates' time as we rolled that out to everybody in the organization. And you're nodding your head like you're familiar with this. So I'd highly encourage you to take that because, for example, one of the things we were able to do is with our air construction permits, it was taking us about 190 days to get those issued. And again, we can't change any of the environmental regulations at the state level, But by simplifying the process, we took it down from about 110 steps to about 22 steps. We were able to get those permits issued in 65 days versus 190 days. So that's just an example of how leveraging process improvement methodologies can help streamline the duplicative processes, take out the steps that don't add any value and that sort of thing. And I would certainly encourage you to take a look at that as part of the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the organization.
Thank you so much. We were already becoming more efficient before I met you and learned about Lean Six Sigma and how you implemented that in Nebraska. But I will tell you, we're leaning in on every front. We're leaning in on the material side, as you've heard Senator Lummis on DISA and Senator Kelly. We're leaning in on the advanced reactor side. That is to me right now, that's the shining star in the agency because of just how many people are coming and what we're doing to prepare and get ready. And we've been ahead of schedule on everything right now. And we're staying that way. They're committed to it. So thank you, and I'll take you up on.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Senate is blessed to have the experience of former governors, and as you can see, that experience is on display with Senator Ricketts' questions. Thanks so much. The chair recognizes Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Wright, you acknowledged earlier in the hearing being present when one of the DOJ representatives made a comment about rubber stamping decisions made elsewhere. Can you tell us exactly what the comment was and who made the comment?
Thank you so much. So that meeting happened in early June, if I remember correctly, subject to check. I was contacted by Mike Goff and at DOE. He and Ted Garish wanted to come over and talk about the executive order for DOE and DOD. They came on a Friday morning, and we had started our meeting. And there were three people who came in. Adam Blake, who was, I mentioned him earlier, he had two other people with him. One was a lady, an attorney. I don't remember her last name. I think her first name was Alicia. And then there was another attorney there by the name of Seth Cohen. And that meeting, it was actually Seth Cohen that used the rubber stamp comment. And it was when they walked in, I stopped the meeting and I let Mr. Blake introduce the others. And when I started the meeting back, I told him, I said, we were just talking about the executive order for DOE and DOD, and that's when the comment was made. He said, "Oh, well, y'all are basically going to put in a practice that's going to sort of rubber stamp what they do." And I said, "Well, we don't."
And he was referring to rubber stamp the decisions made by DOE and DOD?
No, maybe. I didn't press him on that. I didn't ask him about that. All I said
was it a sense that he was suggesting that the NRC was simply going to rubber stamp what the nuclear industry wanted?
No, because I pushed back. That's what was in the
No,
article.
but what was that? Was that his suggestion? That his expectation was that the NRC was now going to be rubber stamped for the industry?
I think he was thinking the intent of that, whatever the executive order was.
So that's how he was interpreting the executive order?
Whether he chose the right words or not, I don't know, but we pushed back and said we don't rubber stamp the meeting that we were having with DOE and DOD.
Commissioner, I'm grateful that you pushed back. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to get understanding of how he views your role, which is obviously alarming to everyone who's concerned about nuclear safety. Let me ask a related question to each of you, and I'll start, Mr. Marzano, with you. Should you decide that a nuclear design is unsafe, notwithstanding the wishes of DOE or DOD or anyone else, do you think you're at risk of being fired from the commission by a president who has demonstrated willingness to fire commissioners without cause?
Well, I certainly think that we've seen that happen, and I think there's pressure. But ultimately, the NRC will not license a reactor that is unsafe. If that does not meet our standards, we will not approve such a design.
But you acknowledge that it's very possible, should you decide that a reactor design is unsafe and vote that way, that you may be fired by the administration?
I think that's a possibility, yes.
Mr. Crowell, is that a possibility in your view?
I think on any given day, I could be fired by the administration for reasons unknown.
Mr. Wright, do you think you'd be fired if you should decide against the administration's desires that a nuclear reactor design is unsafe?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to make the right decision, and I'll stand by that decision.
But you acknowledge you have to at least be
I don't-
concerned, you have to be concerned about the possibility you'll be fired for it.
I don't know. In my mind, it's speculation. And, it's talking, it's not
Well,
something, but I'm
it-
going to make the right decision, period.
It may be speculation, Chairman, but if you and the other commissioners have to be concerned that if you make a decision in the interest of public safety that runs afoul of the desire of the administration to approve something on a short timetable, that you'll be fired. That's not a conducive situation to nuclear safety. Would you agree? If you have to worry about being fired for making the right decision?
Well, I may look at it a little bit differently than how you're saying it.
Well, let
but
me ask you this. The timetable says now within 12 months or 18 months, you have to approve or reject a design. What if you don't have the information in 12 or 18 months? Do you have to vote on it regardless?
No, in the 12 and 18 months is actually you've got 12 months, 18 months on the construction side, then you have another 12 or 18 months to do the other part of it.
And
which is
if
the
you don't have sufficient information within that timetable?
Again, if you don't have a decision, information to make a safety decision or to approve an application, you don't approve it.
So you can ignore the timetable if you don't believe you have sufficient information?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The chair recognizes Senator Alsobrooks.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our commissioners for being here today. The first question is for Chair Wright. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission plays a vital role in my state, which is Maryland, overseeing the Calvert Cliffs Nuclear Power Plant, which generates nearly 40% of our state's electricity. The NRC ensures that these plants operate safely and reliably, protecting both the public and the environment. However, this agency, and we've heard some of this morning, faces significant workforce challenges. Currently, roughly 77% of the staff at the NRC are over 40 years old, and approximately 22% of the workforce was eligible to retire by the end of fiscal year 2025. We believe this puts critical institutional knowledge and expertise at risk. I think we can probably all agree at that. In addition, the NRC's workforce has decreased by nearly 30% since 2010, raising concerns about the capacity to meet evolving regulatory demands. And so I just want to know, Mr. Chair, if you could share with us, given all of these realities, how do you plan, I've heard you allude a bit to it, but how do you plan to replace the retirement-eligible workers and ensure that the NRC staffing levels and staff that the skill sets align with the needs of the nuclear landscape?
Thank you, Senator. And before I answer the question, I was hoping Senator Graham might be here so that I don't know if you've told him about your Seneca, South Carolina connection. And, you and I share some connections in Wadesboro, North Carolina, and things like that, if you remember.
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
So as it relates to the workforce that we have, you are correct. About 20% of our people are currently eligible to retire. And the market that's out there right now for job recruitment, it's good for people in our line of work. So we're going to be losing more people. But we do have people on the bench. We're not without people. Now, it's going to be there's going to be fresh opportunities for people to step up and to chart their path and to make their name at the NRC. And we've got plenty of talent. We are recruiting people. We've hired about 54, I think, since January maybe. Although we do have a hiring freeze, we do have some exemptions on things that we can hire. And we've got direct hire authority that the Advance Act provided as well for those things. If we know we have someone that we've got a specific talent we've got to go get, we can go get it. And also we've been told that there are exemptions and exceptions that we can ask for that would be provided if we, nobody's going to leave us in a lurch. Let's put it like that.
Okay, I was going to ask you about the hiring freeze. So you have some exemptions that would allow you to backfill, if necessary,
Yes,
those positions.
for specific jobs, yes.
Okay, let me ask you just another question. So on May 23rd, the president issued an executive order 14300. We've heard about that this morning, ordering the reform of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And the order directed the NRC to take a wholesale revision of its regulations. But there is a concern about rushed regulatory changes that lack depth and thoughtfulness that come from collaborative engagement with the public and stakeholders. So this tends, I think, to create regulatory uncertainty for applicants already navigating the licensing process. So I wonder whether you can commit, Mr. Chair, to taking the necessary time to meaningfully engage stakeholders on any regulatory reforms to ensure they maintain safety and regulatory predictability.
Yes. So the short answer is yes.
Okay, well then, if that's the case, I have just a question that I want to ask of each commissioner. And this is regarding, the commission established the NRC's principles of good regulation in 1991 to guide the agency's performance and ensure public trust. And the principles are clarity, openness, independence, efficiency, and reliability. But quite frankly, I think most people are concerned now, most especially about independence. And so I wonder whether each of you would commit to this committee that your decisions will continue to be driven by protecting public health, safety, and these principles and nothing else.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, and finally, just one last question. The NRC's website lists over 30 potential applicants and vendors currently engaged in pre-application activities. Many of these efforts are backed by strong federal support, like the Department of Energy's Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program. There's one notable example, and it's in my state. X Energy is a company based in my state in Maryland, and these applicants have submitted high-quality applications that the NRC is committed to reviewing on an accelerated timeline. Now, given the significant expansion in your workload, coupled with the ongoing loss of critical staff essential to completing these reviews, how will you assure that this committee and these applicants, that the NRC, that you will complete the reviews on schedule without cutting safety corners?
So some of those people that are leaving the NRC are going to X Energy because they've got 500 jobs posted in Gaithersburg. So you've got, I mean, it's a serious thing, and the attraction is real. And you can't blame them, right? You can't. But again, we've got the people, our advanced reactor side of the house is where I mentioned earlier, it's the shining star. They are ahead of the game on everything that has an application in front of us. And the people that are in early engagement with us, they're trying to help them build as robust an application as they can so that when they do come in, be it 26 or 27, depending on the technology, that they're ready to go, and we'll have the people in place to review it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
The chair recognizes.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. President Trump issued an executive order in February of this year that attacked so-called independent regulatory agencies like the NRC. And under this order, the NRC has to submit every regulatory decision to Trump's Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs in the White House for its review. So, Chairman Wright, how many NRC decisions have been sent to the White House for review since this order was issued?
Subject to check, about 18 maybe?
18. How many of those decisions would have been transmitted before Trump's executive order in February?
As I understand it, maybe the main item that we have historically submitted or transmitted has been our annual fee rule.
So it's 18 so far have been sent?
Subject to check, sir. Yes.
Okay. As part of the new partisan review process, can the White House change the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's rules and decisions?
I may have to get back to you about that, just on detail. I'm not sure how that works. I do know that if there's we have the ability to have conversations with them on things that maybe aren't aligned or they don't agree with or something like that.
Has the White House used its authority to overrule the Nuclear Regulatory Commission on any of the rules and decisions transmitted by the commission?
So far, they seem to have worked very well with us, and they've been
So they have
accommodating.
not overruled you on anything so far, is that what you're saying?
Subject to check, sir. I'm not aware.
Is anyone aware that any changes have been made?
No, to my.
None have been made, is that what you're saying? Okay,
Yes.
good. So there is, again, from my perspective, no chance that a qualified nuclear professional in the White House is reviewing these rules at the White House to make them stronger. That is not what is happening, okay? It would be to water them down. That's what this White House is all about, watering them down, to give a rubber stamp to the nuclear private sector industry to move forward more quickly. So that would be the only reason that they would act, and there is nothing effective about putting our nuclear safety in the hands of a partisan political White House instead of independent nuclear experts. And the White House doesn't have the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's nuclear safety expertise. It doesn't have the NRC's mission to protect public health and safety. It has an agenda, and that agenda is to rubber stamp new nuclear power plants to make up for the upwards of 500,000 megawatts of wind and solar that the White House has killed. And they have to find a way of making up for that with nuclear, which of course is going to be impossible unless they completely trash the safety rules for nuclear power. That's why I'm afraid. That's why I'm very afraid of what the pressure is going to be on you. Because AI is growing, the demand for electricity is growing, they're killed wind and solar, and they're now looking at you to expedite the safety procedures. And if you don't, the White House will just overrule you. That is what is unfolding right in front of us. So imagine if you went to the doctor who looked at your symptoms, made an expert diagnosis, and said you needed surgery. That would be you. But before you could get treated, you had to wait for the city's mayor to review the prescription and decide you're actually fine with a Band-Aid. That's what the Trump administration is doing here. That's what they're putting in place. The Trump administration is putting its political agenda between you and your safety. And it's putting a curtain up between the public and its right to know what's going on. The transparency of the NRC is replaced by the darkness of the Trump White House in terms of who is talking to them, what is being asked about these regulations that ultimately result in a compromise of the safety protections which you have put in place. And you are telling me you don't know if they can override you. You don't know if they can replace your judgments. You don't know if the safety that this commission is put in place in order to advance is going to be compromised. So that's the problem with this White House. And again, they're doing it at the same time that they're saying they're going to put a nuclear reactor up on the moon. They're going to put a nuclear reactor between us and our moon at the same time that we know that the sun is setting on the nuclear industry and the nuclear moon is getting ready to rise, and it could be very dangerous without the NRC having a real role in the safety of that nuclear power plant. So all across the board, there's a nuclear agenda here which is very dangerous, and it's going to leave the public in the dark, uninformed, and unaware of the decisions that directly affect their health and their safety. And these decisions are going to be made in darkness in the White House about the nuclear safety of these power plants across our country. So you provide transparency, the White House provides darkness. And out of that, we're going to have something that is not trustworthy for local communities. And it's going to make it even harder to license nuclear power plants if they believe that there is no transparency, if they believe it's just the industry showing up and trying their best to compromise the safety regulations. So your job is to regulate the industry, not to promote it. The job of the White House is to promote it, not to regulate it. We know that that's why we created the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in the 1970s, to avoid that conflict. And the White House, right now, is putting that conflict back into action, Mr. Chairman. Give me an assurance that the NRC will not stand on the sidelines if safety is being compromised by this White House.
I can assure you, safety is not going to be compromised. As I mentioned earlier, it's our North Star, it's our strike zone.
Even if the White House issues an order saying that the safety regulations you're promulgated must be compromised.
Safety will not be compromised, I can assure you that.
Do you agree with that, Commissioner?
Yes, sir, I agree with that. And to this point, safety is in the recognition of the public's trust of nuclear power and the social license that we've talked about. The White House, from my understanding here, prioritizes safety as well. I think the devil's in the details. To this point, we haven't had any.
But they just lied, Commissioner. They're saying wind is unsafe. And they can tell the same lie about nuclear power. It is safe. Don't worry about the Nuclear Regulatory Commission regulations that will make it safer, that will provide safety. They just lie through their teeth when it comes to their political agenda to kill wind and solar. They lie about the fact that they are inherently safe, and over here, an inherently dangerous technology, nuclear, which is why we have an entire agency. We don't have a solar agency. We don't have a wind regulatory commission because there can be no nuclear, there is no solar radioactive, fallout. There is no wind radioactive fallout, okay? You don't have to say to Pennsylvania, begin to think about evacuating if a wind or a solar plant goes down. But with nuclear, you have to. So I'll give you the final word, Commissioner Crowell.
I do think that we all genuinely support and care about safety. That being said, if we lose any more staff, that's going to be tough to credibly make safety cases on a timeline that we're being asked to do so. I'm also concerned with respect to the agency's historic independence that on the rulemaking front, the commission's votes will no longer be made public. So there's no benefit, the public won't have the benefit of knowing the thinking of the three of us and the agency in terms of the a rulemaking proposal that then goes to OIRA. So there are transparency concerns, but I think they're resolvable if we acknowledge them.
Nuclear safety is about to fall into a nuclear regulatory black hole.
The gentleman's time has
that's going to disguise
expired.
and hide the safety concerns from the American people. Thank you.
Well, unless someone else returns to testify, I'm going to ask one last question of each of you. And I'd like you to do two things. One is to share your perspectives about how it's going with regard to updating your environmental review requirements. And my other question for each of you is there anything that you were not asked today that you would like the Senate to know? And we'll start with Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Senator. So we're actively working right now on a rulemaking to align Part 51 with the NEPA revisions that were in the FRA. And we do expect that these revisions will meet the intent of the ADVANCE Act, and they're going to facilitate a more efficient and timely and predictable environmental review. And it's happening, and hopefully it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I know that I don't have like a date certain on some of this, but I know it's right before us now. So we're working that very hard. As far as what no one asked, I would be at a loss. The one thing that I think that y'all have talked about before at this committee is the potential for an ADVANCE Act 2.0. And what might be in an ADVANCE Act 2.0. And so some of those things, obviously the mandatory hearing has been talked about, the elimination of that. And I think Senator Scott has a bill before the Senate that does that, I think. And then, so there's some other areas that were in 1.0 where that dealt with microreactors that maybe could be expanded to cover the rest of the advanced reactor side. And obviously, from those are a couple of things right now. That'd be about the only question I wish that we'd talked about a little bit.
Thank you. Mr. Crowell?
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you mentioning NEPA because we hadn't got into that so far, and it's a very important topic. I also think it's the area where we stand to be able to make the most efficiency gains. There are lots of things we can do differently in the NEPA space in terms of how we do the whole process if necessary, but leveraging categorical exclusions and ESs and things like that. It's just not what the agency has historically done. I think we'll get a lot of efficiency gains through our improvements to NEPA. In terms of what I wasn't asked about today, there's a lot of topics, but one of the important ones, and this goes right to my concerns about workforce, is in addition to the hiring freeze, our inability to have graduate intern programs and fellowships and internship programs is a real problem because that's our future workforce. And it would be helpful to have any constraints removed from our ability to build that next generation workforce because the only way we're going to get them to come to the NRC is if we grow them out of the university. I don't think we can compete with private industry to take them out of the job market.
Thank you. And Mr. Marzano?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. So while I can't offer too many details on the process, given where we are with the OIRA process itself, I think we've made a lot of meaningful changes. The chairman was absent during the time, but we reached an agreement to get the rulemaking that reflected the Fiscal Responsibility Act changes moving through the process, so that is there. I'll offer that one of the key things there is no statutory requirement, Atomic Energy Act, Energy Reorganization Act, to require an environmental impact statement for every reactor, and so that is something that I think that we are at, that could produce a lot of efficiency, and that's already been evidenced by some of the applicants that have come in, particularly Kairos with their reactor. As far as what we haven't gotten a chance to talk about, I think it's a little bit more of what we each kind of think about how we get to a decision where shovels are going in the ground faster. One of the things that I've learned in this time is what can we learn from our partners in the international regulatory community. Canada has just recently approved the construction permit for a design for Ontario power generation. They used a little bit of a different method to get to a decision to begin construction. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I heard the question asked about Advanced Act Section 505, and I think that that's where a lot of this type of efficiency, these kind of creative solutions that we can get to a faster decision will play out.
Well, please feel invited to approach the members of this committee on things that we can help you improve your processes. We do want use of nuclear. And of course, as we've all said, we want safe use. And so I sincerely thank the members of the commission for being here today and for making yourselves available to the Senate. With no further questions, we all thank you kindly, every member of the committee, and senators who wish may submit written questions for the record that they'll forward to you. The senators will have until 5 p.m. on Wednesday, September 17th to do so. The witnesses' responses to those questions are due back to the committee no later than 5 p.m. on Wednesday, October 1st, and will be submitted for the record. So with that, again, with our sincere thanks to the commission, this hearing is adjourned.